Hello, this is Rashad from Robotic Automata, and we will be doing a little API testing example with Serenity BDD. This is a test automation overview of this little repository. It was actually forked from Serenity REST Starter, but we're repurposing that little framework to test a different application. So this is a framework that's going to be using Cucumber BDD if you're familiar with that style, but if not, we'll explain it a little bit. And yeah, so I'll be explaining just kind of what we'll be testing, the setup of the endpoints we'll be testing, the structure of our repository, how to run the test, and then we'll be looking line by line into the code base. And of course, I'll be linking the repo if you want to take a look at it, and I'm hoping to make a little blog tutorial about this soon. So we'll be testing the Thinking Tester Contact List app. So it's just a little repository or application, and instead of going through and showing it to you there, I took a little screenshots. This is a UI testing example, which I'm hoping to do in a subsequent video, so yeah, definitely stay tuned. But basically you can log in or sign up. In our case, we're going to create a user, so the sign up feature. After that, you provide like a first name, last name, email, and password. Assuming everything is valid, it will let you create a new user. And then, we'll just log out. So let's go back to the API testing. So in the backend side of things, when you add a user, you're making a post request to the base URL, but with the user's endpoint. You provide a JSON body with first name, last name, email, password, and hopefully you get a 201 status back that lets you know that you were able to create that user. For the next endpoint we'll be testing is a login user. And the login user is a similar thing. You do a post request, but just the email and password. You'll get a 200 as your response status, plus you get a token for using while you're logged in. For logging out, it's a little bit different. Instead of providing a body with a JSON, you provide a token, and when you're logged out, it gives you 200. And here's our little repository structure. So if you're familiar with Cucumber BDD, you make a feature file inside of our resource features, and this will create our test scenario. Our test scenario will essentially allow us to create a user. Well, we'll get into that when we get to that file. So then inside of our Java section of the test location, we'll have our APIs, in our case just user API, a Cucumber test suite if you're going to run from an IDE, but we'll just be doing it from the terminal. And then our steps, which is user steps.java, which implement your feature definitions. To run it, just Maven clean verify. And yeah, let's just go ahead and run it. Well, I guess one other thing to show is that we're just testing a little subset of the API. So, if you want to keep going with this little framework for practice, feel free to fork it, and you can do other endpoints like get user profile, for example, update a user, and then you can even add contacts to specific users. But just to get a little getting started framework, we just tested a couple of those APIs. So to run the test, we just run Maven clean verify, and just so you don't have to wait for the test to run, I already have a previous run of it, and after you run it, you can just go ahead and click on that link to show you your output, the Serenity report. This is the test that we ran. It can do things like give an add a new user, and I log in and log out. We can go even deeper, and one of the nice things about Serenity is within each little Cucumber step definition, we also have a Serenity step, and the Serenity step can let us see exactly what request we made, the REST query, as well as what response we got back. And we can do that for each one, but I think that's sufficient. So now let's take a look at the code base. So now we're back in the code base, and I just opened up our user.feature file. It's just a feature that explains what we're doing. So we're essentially just going to be doing a new user login logout, given add a new user. When I log in, then I log out. We can do other things like delete requests, as well as probably another feature file for contact list details. But for now, just to keep it simple, let's just take a look at how these 3 particular steps are implemented. So if we go ahead and go into our steps, user steps from Java, test/Java, if we take a look at our given add a new user, we can make a new faker. We can start our fake value service, and with the fake value service, with some letters, numbers, some more letters, .com, essentially we're establishing an email, a random email, and we're setting up a random password with some letters and some numbers. Since we don't really care about the data, and that's also why we're getting a faker right here, our user is going to be a faker, we're going to set session variables, user to user, email to email, password to password. And now we're going to set up our JSON object. So we're going to add properties like a first name, which we're getting all from user, a last name, an email, and a password. And then we're going to add user request body. So let's see, what does this do? So here inside of user API, we will add a new user, and we're going to do given, we're going to set our content type to JSON, request body is string, user endpoint is right here, is just the URL plus users, and then we'll post. And then when we go back, we're just going to verify that we got a status code of 201. So the next step is when I log in, we do something very similar. We just get our email from the session variables, we got our password from the session variables, we're going to create a new request body with those 2 items, and then we're going to do a login request to our user API. So right here, step by login and user API, pretty much everything is the same, except this time we're going to post to login endpoint. And then this time we're going to not only check if the status code is 200, but also we will be checking the response body for a token, and then adding that to our session variables so that we can go ahead and do a logout. So we're going to get the token, and we're going to submit our token to our logout request. And this time, instead of sending a response body, we just put it in the bearer, and we're going to post to logout endpoint. And then we just verify that the status code is 200. So yeah, it's a little bit different format than the previous 2 videos, which are tutorials. We just did a little overview of the repository. And yeah, if you have any questions, please do comment them. And thank you. I hope you enjoyed.